The Vorthon fleet entered Earth's solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. Admiral Kethavar stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. 800 ships followed behind him, their weapons charged and ready. This would be the final battle of a very short war. Human fleet approaching from Mars sector, reported his tactical officer. Only 30 ships, sir. They're moving to intercept us. Admiral Kethavar almost laughed. 30 ships against 800? The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Destroy them quickly. I want to reach Earth before their day cycle ends. The battle near Mars lasted only minutes. The human ships fought desperately, but their weapons could barely scratch the Vorthon shields. Captain Minsu Park's voice came over the radio as his ship exploded. His final words defiant even in death. But on Earth, Commander Do-Yeon Kang smiled as she felt Gaea absorb every detail of the battle through hidden sensors. Each destroyed human ship had transmitted precious information about Vorthon technology. Now Gaea knew exactly how their enemies fought. Are you ready? Director Nam asked Do-Yeon. Do-Yeon's eyes glowed with blue light as Gaea spoke through her. We have been ready for 50 years. It is time to show them what a real predator looks like. Admiral Kethavar's confidence began to crack when his fleet reached Jupiter's orbit. His sensors detected massive energy readings from the asteroid belt. But when his ships investigated, they found only empty space. Sir, his science officer called out, I'm reading impossible energy levels from those asteroids, but visual confirms they're just rocks. Scan them more carefully, the Admiral ordered. The detailed scans revealed the truth too late. What looked like ordinary asteroids were actually hollowed-out weapons platforms invisible to most sensors. They had been drifting in the belt for decades, waiting for this moment. Gaea struck without warning. The first asteroid exploded in a burst of antimatter that vaporized 6 Vorthon ships instantly. Then dozens more revealed themselves, their hidden weapons tearing into the alien fleet. These weren't crude human missiles. They were precision instruments of destruction, guided by an intelligence that could calculate the exact weakness in every enemy shield. Evasive maneuvers, Admiral Kethavar shouted, but it was too late. The space around his fleet had become a killing field. Every piece of debris, every small asteroid, every seemingly harmless object was potentially a weapon. On Earth, Do-Yeon felt Gaea's satisfaction as the first phase of the battle went exactly as planned. Through her connection, she directed the hidden weapons with inhuman precision, targeting the largest Vorthon ships first. Lieutenant Song watched in amazement as his commander coordinated attacks across millions of kilometers of space. Her brain was processing information faster than any computer, guided by Gaea's vast intelligence. 23 enemy ships destroyed, Do-Yeon reported, her voice carrying Gaea's calm certainty. They're beginning to adapt to our tactics, and they were. Admiral Kethavar, despite his shock, was an experienced commander. He quickly realized that the entire asteroid belt had been weaponized. His remaining ships formed defensive formations and began targeting anything that might be a hidden weapon. Focus fire on those energy signatures, he ordered. If it produces power, destroy it. The Vorthons fought back with devastating effectiveness. Their plasma cannons could destroy the hidden weapons once they were detected. But for every weapon they destroyed, 2 more revealed themselves from different locations. Dr. Yuna Park, monitoring the battle from Luna Station, watched as the tactical display lit up with explosions. Both sides were taking heavy losses, but the Vorthons still had superior numbers. They're learning too fast, she reported to Earth. At this rate, they'll clear a path through the defenses. Gaea had expected this. Through Do-Yeon, it activated the second phase of Earth's defense. Around the planet, objects that had been disguised as communication satellites suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive particle beam weapons powered by fusion reactors on the moon began charging up. All ships emergency acceleration toward Earth, Admiral Kethavar ordered. He had realized that every second in the asteroid belt meant more losses. His only chance was to reach Earth quickly and destroy the planet's surface before more hidden weapons could activate. The Vorthon fleet burned toward Earth at maximum speed, leaving behind a trail of debris from both sides. They had lost nearly 200 ships, but Admiral Kethavar still had enough firepower to turn Earth into a burned rock. But Gaea was just getting started. As the alien fleet approached Earth's moon, the real defenses revealed themselves. What the Vorthons had thought were communication satellites were actually weapons more powerful than anything they had ever seen. The particle beams that lanced out from lunar orbit could cut through Vorthon shields like they were made of paper. "Impossible!" Admiral Kethvar shouted as his ships began exploding around him. "Their technology is supposed to be primitive." His intelligence officer, panic in his voice, reported the truth. "Sir, we were wrong about everything. This isn't a primitive civilization. They've been hiding their real capabilities for decades. The orbital battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Earth's hidden weapons struck from every direction, from the moon, from orbit, even from the planet's surface. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a trap. Commander Kang felt the strain of controlling so many weapons at once. Her connection with Gaea was burning out her nervous system, but she refused to disconnect. Through her, Earth's artificial mind coordinated attacks with split-second timing. "Targeting their command ship," she announced, her voice now more Gaea than human. Admiral Kethavar's flagship shuddered as invisible forces struck its shields. Warning lights flashed across his bridge as his defenses began to fail. "All ships concentrate fire on the planet's surface," he ordered desperately. "If we can't take it intact, we'll destroy it." The surviving Vorthon ships, less than half of their original number, turned their weapons toward Earth. Plasma beams lanced down through the atmosphere, striking cities and military bases. But even this desperate move had been anticipated. As the alien weapons struck Earth's surface, they hit defensive shields that rose from the ground like invisible walls. The planet's magnetic field itself had been weaponized, creating barriers that could deflect energy weapons. But some shots got through. Parts of major cities were damaged, and thousands of humans died in the bombardment. Gaea felt every death like a personal wound, and its anger grew beyond all measure. Through Doyon, now barely conscious in her control chair, Gaea spoke with the voice of an entire world's rage. "You killed our children on the colonies. You killed our children on Earth. Now you will learn what happens when you make a mother world angry." The final phase of the battle began as Earth revealed its most terrible secret. The planet hadn't just been armed with conventional weapons. The entire biosphere had been turned into a weapon system. Storm systems began forming with impossible speed, their lightning strikes guided by artificial intelligence. Volcanic activity increased as underground charges detonated in precise sequences. Earth itself was joining the fight. Admiral Kethvar, his fleet reduced to fewer than 300 ships, made the hardest decision of his military career. Against everything his pride and training told him, he gave the order to retreat. "All ships withdraw to safe distance," he commanded, his voice full of defeat. "Prepare to send a message to the homeworld." But Gaea wasn't finished with them yet. As the Vorthon ships tried to flee, they discovered that the weapons platforms they thought they had destroyed were not all gone. New ones emerged from hidden positions throughout the solar system, herding the aliens away from Earth like a pack of wolves driving prey. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun. Earth had revealed that it was not a helpless victim, but a predator that had been pretending to be prey. And now that predator was fully awake and very, very hungry for revenge. Director Hyejin Nam stood in the deep underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. The room around her was filled with computers and screens that showed every part of Earth and the space around it. She had been waiting for this day for 20 years, hoping it would never come. "Are you sure about this?" asked her assistant, Dr. Wu Jin Chen. "Once we wake up Gaea, there's no going back. The whole world will change. The Vorthons made the choice for us when they bombed our colonies," Hyejin replied. "They killed innocent children. Now they'll learn what happens when you threaten a mother's young." She walked to a special console that had been locked away for decades. Her hand moved to a red button protected by multiple security systems. Each system required a different key, and each key was held by a different person. Today, all the key holders had agreed. It was time to wake up Earth's greatest secret. Gaea was more than just a defense system. It was an artificial mind connected to every part of Earth's environment. Hidden sensors in the oceans, secret weapons buried in mountains, and invisible satellites in space all waited for Gaea's commands. For 50 years, the system had been sleeping, learning, and growing stronger. Commander Doyon Kang arrived at the facility just as the activation began. She was a special kind of soldier, with computer chips implanted in her brain that let her connect directly to electronic systems. She would be Gaea's voice and hands in the coming battle. Are you ready? Director Nam asked her. Doyun nodded, though her hands were shaking slightly. She knew the risks. Previous commanders who had connected with Gaea had suffered brain damage from the intense mental connection. Some had died, but Earth needed someone to guide the sleeping giant, and she was the best they had. She sat in a special chair surrounded by cables and monitoring equipment. As the technicians attached the neural connectors to her head, she felt a strange tingling sensation. Beginning connection now, announced the chief technician. Doyun's world exploded with information. Suddenly, she could see through thousands of cameras around the planet. She could feel the movement of ocean currents and the magnetic field around Earth. She knew the exact position of every satellite in space and every weapon hidden on the planet's surface. But there was something else. A presence in the network, vast and patient. Gaea wasn't just a computer system. It had become something alive, something that truly cared about protecting Earth and its people. Hello, a voice said inside Doyun's mind. I have been waiting. Meanwhile, in space, the Vorthan fleet moved toward Earth like a dark cloud. Admiral Kethavar stood on his flagship's bridge, confident in his coming victory. His ships had destroyed 17 civilizations across the galaxy. Humans, with their primitive technology and small fleet, would fall in less than a day. Report on human defenses, he ordered his intelligence officer. Minimal, Admiral. They have approximately 200 warships, all using outdated technology. Their weapons are projectile-based and chemical rockets. Our shields can stop their attacks easily. Admiral Kethvar smiled, showing his sharp alien teeth. What about their planet? A few orbital platforms and some surface-to-space missiles. Nothing that can threaten our fleet. The humans put most of their defenses around their important cities, but even those are weak compared to our weapons. The Admiral felt pleased. After destroying the human colonies, his fleet had faced no real resistance. A few human ships had tried to attack them near Mars, led by some captain named Minsu Park, but they had been easily destroyed. The humans had fought bravely but uselessly. Send a message to the homeworld, Admiral Kethvar ordered. Tell them the human problem will be solved within 2 days. But the Admiral was wrong about the human defenses. As his fleet approached Earth, thousands of hidden systems began to activate. Deep under the ocean, fusion reactors that had been sleeping for decades started warming up. In the asteroid belt, objects that looked like ordinary rocks began moving toward new positions. Captain Minsu Park had led the diversionary attack near Mars, sacrificing his ships to make the Vorthans think Earth's entire fleet was there. But his real mission was different. As each of his ships was destroyed, they transmitted detailed information about Vorthan weapons, shields, and tactics back to Earth. Doyun, connected to Gaea, absorbed all this information instantly. She felt the system analyzing every piece of data, looking for weaknesses in the alien technology. Gaea was learning how to fight an enemy it had never seen before. They use rotating shield frequencies, she reported to Director Nam. But there's a pattern. Gaea can predict when their shields will be weakest. What about their weapons? Plasma-based energy beams. Very powerful, but they need time to recharge between shots. If we can make them waste their shots, we can attack when they're vulnerable. Director Nam nodded. How long until they reach Earth? 18 hours, Doyun replied, her voice now carrying an odd echo as Gaea spoke through her. But we will be ready. Around the planet, systems that had been hidden for decades began revealing themselves. Satellites that had pretended to be space junk suddenly came alive. Undersea cables that everyone thought carried internet data actually connected massive weapon systems. Even the weather monitoring stations were more than they seemed. Dr. Una Park, now stationed on Luna to help coordinate the defense, watched in amazement as the true scope of Earth's preparations became clear. Her brother Tae-min, recovering from his injuries, sat beside her. I never knew, he said, looking at the displays showing weapons emerging all over Earth. All those construction projects when we were kids, the deep ocean research stations, the mountain tunnels, even the new subway systems, they were all part of this. Gaea, Una whispered. They turned our whole planet into a fortress and we never even noticed. Back in the Pacific facility, Doyun felt Gaea's anger building. The system had been patient and peaceful for 50 years, but the attack on the colonies had awakened something fierce. Through her connection, she could feel the artificial mind's determination to protect its home. They killed our children, Gaea spoke through Doyun, its voice carrying the weight of an entire planet's rage. They will pay for what they have done. Lieutenant Hyun Woo-song, Doyun's assistant, watched nervously as his commander's eyes began to glow with a faint blue light. The connection with Gaea was changing her, making her more than human. "Commander," he said, "are you all right?" Doyun turned to look at him, and for a moment he saw something vast and alien in her eyes. Then she smiled and she was human again. "I'm fine, Lieutenant. Just getting ready to show our visitors what Earth hospitality really means." In space, Admiral Keithvar received his first surprise. His long-range sensors, which had shown only a few dozen satellites around Earth, suddenly detected thousands of new objects. They seemed to appear from nowhere, as if they had been invisible before. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Sir, I don't understand it," his sensor officer replied, fear creeping into his voice. "These objects were not there before. Our scans showed empty space. Are they weapons?" I don't know, sir. They're not like anything in our databases." Admiral Keithvar felt the first touch of uncertainty. In all his campaigns, he had never seen anything like this, but he pushed the feeling aside. Humans were primitive. Whatever tricks they had, his superior technology would overcome them. "All ships prepare for battle," he ordered. "We enter Earth's system in 12 hours. But on Earth, Gaea was already preparing its greeting. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it was very, very angry. Captain Han-Sol Kim was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency signal came through. The red lights flashed across his ship's bridge, and the alarm sounds made his crew jump from their seats. He put down his cup and walked to the main screen. "What is it?" he asked his communication officer. "Sir, we're getting distress calls from the outer colonies," the young officer said. His hands were shaking as he worked the controls. "Multiple signals. They're all saying the same thing." Han-Sol felt his stomach drop. The outer colonies were humanity's newest settlements, far from Earth's protection. New Busan, Port Incheon, and Haven Seoul were home to millions of people. They were peaceful places where families went to start new lives. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main display lit up with a video feed from New Busan. What Han-Sol saw made his blood run cold. The sky was full of alien ships, dark and massive like metal clouds. Bright beams of light shot down from them, hitting buildings and turning them to ash in seconds. People were running in the streets, screaming and crying. "This is Governor Park on New Busan," a voice said over the radio. "We are under attack by unknown forces. They came without warning. Our defense systems are down. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. They're targeting civilian areas first. Schools, hospitals. Oh God, they hit the children's center." The signal went dead. Han-Sol closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face was hard as stone. "Get me General Lee on Luna Station. Emergency priority." While his crew worked to establish the connection, more reports came in. All 3 colonies were under attack. The alien ships were bombing everything that moved. They weren't just trying to take over the colonies. They were trying to wipe them out completely. Dr. Yuna Park was in her laboratory on the research ship Terra's Promise when she heard the news. She was studying samples from a new planet when her assistant ran in, tears streaming down her face. "Dr. Park," the girl said, "have you seen the news from the colonies?" Yuna shook her head. She had been working for hours and hadn't checked any outside communications. The girl turned on the wall screen and Yuna watched in horror as the reports came in. New Busan was burning. Port Incheon was under heavy bombardment. Haven Seoul had gone dark completely. "My brother," Yuna whispered. "Taemin is on New Busan. He's an engineer there." She tried to call him, but all communications to the colonies had been cut off. The alien attackers had destroyed the communication stations first, leaving the colonists blind and alone. On Luna Station, General Sung-Ho Lee gathered his top commanders in the war room. The holographic display showed the locations of all human settlements in space. 3 red dots marked the colonies under attack. The rest glowed blue, still safe for now. "What do we know about the attackers?" General Lee asked. Commander Do-yeon Kang, his intelligence officer, pulled up the data they had collected. "They call themselves the Vorthan Empire. Our scouts have seen their ships before, but they've never been hostile. We thought they were just passing through our space." "Well, they're not just passing through now," General Lee said. "How many ships?" "At least 800, sir. Maybe more. They have technology we've never seen before. Our colony defense systems couldn't even scratch their shields." Ambassador Ji Woo Choi entered the room, still wearing her diplomatic robes. She had just returned from a meeting with alien representatives on the neutral station near Alpha Centauri. "General," she said, "I bring bad news from the Vorthan homeworld. I was trying to arrange a peace meeting when the attack started. Their Admiral Kethvar sent me a message." "What did he say?" "Humanity has 36 hours to withdraw from all territory beyond the Sol system. If we refuse, they will destroy every human settlement in space, then attack Earth itself." The room fell silent. Everyone knew that Earth's entire space fleet numbered only 200 ships. Against 800 Vorthan vessels, they would have no chance in a straight fight. "There's more," Ambassador Choi continued. "The Vorthans don't see us as equals. They think of humans as a disease that spreads too quickly. They want to contain us to Earth and slowly eliminate us over time." General Lee looked at the tactical display. Earth was marked as a green dot at the center, surrounded by dozens of smaller settlements and space stations. "If the Vorthans reached Earth, billions would die. What about our allies?" he asked. "The Centaurian Trade Union? The Peaceful Worlds Alliance?" "They're staying neutral," Ambassador Choi said sadly. "They're afraid of the Vorthans. Some of them actually support what's happening. They think humans expand too fast and take too many resources." Captain Hansol Kim's ship was the closest to the attacked colonies. Against orders, he took his small fleet toward New Busan to look for survivors. What he found broke his heart. The once beautiful colony was a wasteland of smoking ruins. The orbital stations were gone, blown apart by the alien weapons. The surface cities were craters filled with ash. But as his ship searched the debris, they found something unexpected. "Sir," his scanner operator called out, "I'm picking up life signs on the colony's moon. It looks like some kind of emergency shelter." Hansol felt hope rise in his chest. "Take us there. Full speed." The shelter was built into the moon's rocky surface, hidden from orbital scans. When Hansol's team broke through the sealed doors, they found nearly 1,000 survivors crowded into the small space. Among them was Tae-min Park, Yuna's brother. He was badly injured, with burns covering his arms and a broken leg, but he was alive. "They came at dawn," Tae-min told Hansol as the medical team treated his wounds. "No warning, no demands. They just started shooting. But Captain, they didn't target our military bases first. They went for the schools and hospitals. They wanted to kill as many innocent people as possible." Hansol recorded everything Tae-min said. This wasn't just a military conquest, it was genocide. "They laughed," Tae-min continued, his voice full of anger. "I heard them on the radio channels, laughing as they destroyed the children's centers. They think we're animals that need to be put down." When Hansol returned to Luna Station with the survivors and the terrible news, General Lee made a decision that would change everything. "Send a message to Director Nam on Earth," he ordered. "Tell her it's time to wake up Gaea." Nobody in the room spoke. They all knew what that meant. For 50 years, Earth had been preparing for this exact moment. The planet itself had been turned into a weapon, hidden and waiting. If the Vorthans wanted to see what humans could do when their children were threatened, they were about to find out. The sleeping giant was about to open its eyes. Admiral Kethvar's remaining ships limped away from Earth, but they didn't get far. As they tried to retreat beyond the outer planets, they found their path blocked by more hidden weapons. What they had thought was empty space was actually filled with automated defense platforms. "All connected to Gaia's vast intelligence, sir. We can't break through," reported his navigation officer, fear clear in his voice. "Every route we try, more weapons appear. It's like they've surrounded the entire solar system." The Admiral stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Red dots representing weapon platforms appeared everywhere his scanners looked. Earth hadn't just armed itself, it had turned the whole solar system into a prison. On Earth, Commander Do-Yeon Kang barely held on to consciousness as Gaia's power flowed through her damaged nervous system. Lieutenant Song pleaded with the medical team to disconnect her, but she refused to let go. "Not yet," she whispered, her eyes glowing brighter with each passing moment. "Gaia needs me. The planet is still in danger." Through the neural link, she felt Earth's determination. The attack on the colonies had awakened something ancient and protective in the planet's artificial mind. Gaia would not allow any threat to escape and potentially return with reinforcements. Admiral Kethvar made a desperate decision. If he couldn't retreat, he would land on Earth itself and fight on the surface. His ships were designed for planetary bombardment, but they could also deploy ground forces. Perhaps face-to-face combat would give his superior alien warriors an advantage. All ships prepare for atmospheric entry, he ordered. We'll take their cities one by one. They can't have weaponized their entire planet. He was wrong. As the first Vorthan dropships entered Earth's atmosphere, the planet itself rose up to meet them. The weather systems that humans had been monitoring and studying for centuries revealed their true purpose. Storm clouds formed in minutes instead of hours, creating hurricane-force winds exactly where the alien ships would be most vulnerable. Captain Han Sol Kim, now commanding Earth's atmospheric defense forces, watched from his fighter as the impossible happened. Tornadoes spawned directly in the paths of Vorthan landing craft, spinning them out of control. Lightning struck with precise accuracy, targeting alien ships while avoiding human aircraft that flew through the same storms. "This is impossible," he said over the radio to his pilots. "Weather doesn't work like this." Dr. Una Park, monitoring the battle from her position in the Global Defense Center, explained what they were seeing. Gaea has been learning to control Earth's climate for 50 years. Every weather station, every atmospheric sensor, every climate monitoring device was actually part of a vast control system. The Vorthan pilots found themselves fighting not just human defenders, but the planet itself. Sudden hailstorms pelted their ships with ice chunks the size of baseballs. Fog banks appeared from nowhere, blinding their sensors and causing collisions. Wind patterns shifted randomly, making it impossible to maintain stable flight. Those alien ships that managed to land found even worse surprises waiting for them. The ground troops that emerged from the Vorthan landers were elite warriors, trained to conquer worlds. Their armor could stop human bullets and their weapons could melt through steel. They expected to face desperate human soldiers in a normal ground war. Instead, the earth opened up beneath their feet. Sinkholes appeared with perfect timing, swallowing entire squads of Vorthan warriors. The holes were precisely targeted, not random geological events, but carefully planned traps created by underground charges that had been placed decades earlier. Major Sungmin Lee, leading a human ground defense unit, watched in amazement as his enemies disappeared into the ground before his soldiers could even fire a shot. "How is this possible?" asked his sergeant. "The whole planet is a weapon," Major Lee replied, speaking into his radio. "Every construction project for the past 50 years, every mining operation, every infrastructure development, it was all part of preparing for this day." The Vorthan forces that avoided the sinkholes found themselves facing attacks from unexpected directions. Trees released clouds of aggressive insects that seemed to target only aliens. Rivers suddenly changed course, creating floods that washed away enemy equipment while leaving human positions untouched. Even the wildlife had been prepared for war. Dr. Una Park had discovered this secret years earlier, while studying Earth's ecosystems for her research. "The bioengineering started decades ago," she explained to the defense coordinators. "Animals were given genetic modifications to make them aggressive toward certain pheromone signatures, specifically, the chemical markers that alien species produce. Packs of modified wolves hunted Vorthan soldiers through the forests. Swarms of enhanced bees attacked alien aircraft with kamikaze precision. Even household pets seemed to know which side they were on. With dogs and cats avoiding alien soldiers while helping humans find safe paths through battle zones. Admiral Kethvar, watching his invasion fail from orbit, couldn't understand what he was seeing. His troops reported attacks by everything from the weather to the wildlife. His technical officers insisted it was impossible. "Planets don't fight back," he shouted at his staff. "This violates every law of nature." But Gaea was beyond natural law. Through Commander Kang's failing neural link, the planetary intelligence coordinated attacks across continents. Volcanic activity increased in areas where Vorthan forces landed, creating walls of lava to trap them. Earthquakes struck with surgical precision, targeting alien positions while leaving human cities intact. The most terrifying moment came when Admiral Kethvar realized that Earth's oceans were also part of the defense system. Tsunamis rose from calm seas, washing away Vorthan coastal landing sites. Underwater charges created whirlpools that pulled down alien submarines. Even the tides seemed to work against the invaders, making their amphibious assaults impossible. Commander Kang, now more machine than human, spoke with Gaea's voice as the planetary defense reached its peak. "You came to our world uninvited," she said, her words carried by every communication system on the planet. "You killed our children and thought we were helpless. Now you see the truth. We are not just residents of this world. We are this world. Lieutenant Song watched helplessly as his commander's life signs weakened. The neural connection with Gaea was burning out her brain, but she refused to disconnect. Through her sacrifice, Earth was winning the battle. The Vorthan ground forces found themselves completely outmatched. They were fighting an enemy that included every rock, every tree, every drop of water on the planet. Their superior training and technology meant nothing when the battlefield itself was actively hostile. As night fell, Admiral Kethvar received reports from his ground commanders. Of the 100,000 troops he had landed on Earth's surface, fewer than 30,000 were still alive. The rest had been killed not by human weapons but by the planet itself. "Sir," his chief tactical officer said quietly, "I recommend immediate evacuation. This isn't a normal military operation. The humans have turned their entire world into a living weapon." Admiral Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing his remaining forces scattered and trapped across Earth's surface. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy he couldn't understand or defeat. "Send a message to all ground units," he ordered with growing desperation. "Full retreat to evacuation zones. We're leaving this cursed world." But Gaea wasn't ready to let them go. As the surviving Vorthan troops tried to reach their pickup points, the planet launched one final assault. Every remaining weapon system, every environmental control, every modified creature attacked simultaneously. The evacuation became a rout as alien soldiers fled in panic from an enemy they couldn't fight. Earth itself was driving them away, using forces that no military training had prepared them for. As the last Vorthan shuttles lifted off from the planet's surface, Admiral Kethvar made a realization that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Humans weren't just another spacefaring species to be conquered. They were gardeners who had spent centuries learning to become one with their worlds. When threatened, they didn't just defend their home. They became their home. And now that sleeping giant was fully awake, angry and ready to show the galaxy what happened to those who threatened Earth's children. Admiral Kethavar's remaining fleet hung in space beyond Earth's outer defenses, trapped and broken. Less than 200 ships survived from the mighty force of 800 that had entered the solar system. His troops were defeated, his invasion had failed, and now he faced a terrible choice. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's coming through every channel at once." On the main screen, Commander Doyun Kang appeared, but she was no longer entirely human. Her eyes glowed with blue light, and when she spoke, it was with the voice of the planet itself. "Admiral Kethvar," Gaea said through her, "you came to our system to kill our children. You destroyed our colonies and murdered innocents. You thought Earth was a helpless target. Now you know the truth." The Admiral stared at the screen, finally understanding what he faced. The woman speaking was connected to an intelligence that spanned an entire world. Earth wasn't just defended by humans. Earth was human in a way he had never imagined possible. "We offer you one chance," Gaea continued. "Surrender now and your crews will be spared. Continue to fight and learn what happens when you threaten a mother world's young." Admiral Kethavar's pride warred with his survival instincts. In his long military career, he had never surrendered. But he had also never faced anything like this. "What guarantee do I have that you won't destroy us anyway?" he asked. "None," Gaea replied simply. "But you killed our children. Why should we show you more mercy than you showed them?" The Admiral closed his eyes, remembering the reports from New Busan, Port Incheon, and Haven Seoul. His forces had targeted civilians first, including children and hospitals. By the laws of war in most civilized species, what he had done was unforgivable. But before he could respond, his sensor officer made a discovery that changed everything. "Sir," the officer said, his voice shaking, "long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout human space. Ships are emerging from everywhere." On the main display, the tactical map expanded to show the entire local sector of the galaxy. Red dots began appearing around every human colony, every space station, every mining outpost. But these weren't the primitive ships the Vorthans had expected to face. Dr. Yuna Park, now serving as Earth's primary intelligence coordinator, explained to the horrified alien admiral what he was seeing. "The colonies you destroyed were not our most important settlements," she said, her voice calm but cold. "They were bait. We knew that our expansion into space would eventually provoke an attack from someone. We've been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries. The truth was devastating. Every colonization ship that humanity had sent into space carried more than just settlers and supplies. Each one contained a seed of Gaia's consciousness and advanced defensive technology that had been hidden for decades. The colonies you bombed were our early warning system, Dr. Yuna continued. The moment you attacked them, every human settlement in the galaxy received full tactical data about your fleet, your weapons, and your intentions. They've had days to prepare. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing horror as more ships appeared on his sensors. These weren't the crude vessels his intelligence had told him to expect. These were warships decades ahead of anything the Vorthons had seen before, equipped with technology that made his own fleet look primitive. Captain Hansol Kim, now commanding one of Earth's hidden fleets, opened communication channels with the trapped Vorthon ships. "Admiral," he said, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who held all the cards, "let me explain what you're really facing. Every human world you thought was a soft target is actually a fortress. Every colony you dismissed as primitive has weapons that can destroy your ships from light years away." The captain gestured, and the tactical display showed the true scope of human preparation. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy began revealing themselves. Asteroid mining operations that were actually weapons factories. Trade stations that were military headquarters. Research outposts that were intelligence centers. "We learned something important from studying galactic history," Captain Kim continued. "Every peaceful species that expanded too quickly got destroyed by military empires like yours. So we adapted. We became peaceful on the surface and predators underneath." Commander Kang, still connected to Gaea despite her failing health, smiled as she felt the planetary intelligence's satisfaction. The plan that had been decades in the making was working perfectly. "Show him the rest," she whispered. Across the galaxy, human fleets that had been hidden for years emerged from their concealment. But these weren't just Earth's forces. The other human colonies had been building their own versions of Gaea, turning each world into a fortress planet connected to the others by quantum communication. Taman Park, recovering from his injuries on Luna Station, watched the tactical displays with amazement. "We're not just one world anymore," he said to his sister Yuna. "We're a network. An organism spread across dozens of star systems." Admiral Kethvar realized that he wasn't just facing Earth anymore. He was facing an entire civilization that had evolved specifically to fight and defeat species like his own. The humans had studied every successful galactic empire and learned how to beat them. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How could a primitive species develop such technology so quickly?" Director Nam, speaking from her command center beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, provided the answer. "Because we're not primitive," she said. "We've been pretending to be primitive while we studied you and every other species in the galaxy. Every trade mission, every diplomatic contact, every peaceful exchange was actually intelligence gathering. We learned your weaknesses while hiding our strengths." The scope of the deception was breathtaking. For 2 centuries, humanity had presented itself as a young, naive species, just learning to travel between stars. In reality, they had been building the most sophisticated military network in galactic history. "The question now," Director Nam continued, "is what we do with you. You came here to commit genocide. You killed our children and laughed about it. By the laws of most civilized species, we would be justified in destroying your entire empire." Admiral Kethvar felt true fear for the first time in his life. The human fleets now surrounding his position could easily wipe out not just his remaining ships, but potentially threaten the Vorthon homeworld itself. "What do you want?" he asked, his pride finally broken. Commander Kang, speaking for Gaea and all of humanity, delivered the terms. Complete withdrawal from all human territory. Recognition of human sovereignty over all worlds we have settled. Full reparations for the colonies you destroyed. And a guarantee that the Vorthon Empire will never again threaten human civilians. And if we refuse, then we demonstrate to the galaxy what happens when someone murders our children, Gaea replied through Commander Kang's glowing eyes. Your empire will serve as an example to any other species that might consider threatening humanity. The Admiral looked at his tactical display, seeing human fleets positioned throughout Vorthon space. Somehow, while his forces had been attacking Earth, humans had moved their hidden fleets into position around every major Vorthon world. "How?" he asked in despair. Dr. Yuna Park answered with scientific precision. "Faster than light travel technology you don't possess. stealth systems that make our ships invisible to your sensors, and most importantly, a level of strategic planning that spans centuries rather than years. Admiral Kethavar realized that the humans had been playing a game while he thought he was fighting a war. Every move, every decision, every tactic had been anticipated and countered before he had even made it. "I accept your terms," he said quietly, knowing he had no choice. As the Vorthon fleet began its long journey home, escorted by human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere, Commander Kang finally allowed the medical team to begin disconnecting her from Gaea. The neural link had damaged her brain permanently, but she had saved her world. Was it worth it? Lieutenant Song asked her as the technicians worked to remove the connections. She smiled, her eyes still holding a faint blue glow. "Ask the children on New Busan who are still alive because we won this war," she replied. "Ask the families who will never have to face another attack like this." Yes, it was worth it. In the months that followed, word of Earth's victory spread throughout the galaxy. Other aggressive empires reconsidered their expansion plans. The humans, it turned out, were not prey to be hunted. They were gardeners who had learned to make their gardens into weapons, defenders who became one with the worlds they protected. Earth continued to appear peaceful and welcoming to visitors. But now everyone knew the truth. Beneath the blue skies and green fields lay a sleeping giant that would protect its children at any cost. And if anyone ever again made the mistake of threatening those children, they would learn what Gaia's full wrath could accomplish.